Students, in lesson 3.9, we are going to be subtracting decimals. So our essential question that will guide our study today is, how can place value help subtract decimals? So this is something that we practiced with lesson 3.9 yesterday, but now we're going to extend our knowledge to subtracting decimals. So you'll see that there will be a pattern here. We're going to have to estimate, round, and then do the actual subtraction. So let's start with the real world. Unlock the problem. Hannah has 3 36 kilograms of apples and 2 28 kilograms of oranges. Hannah estimates she has about 1 more kilogram of apples than oranges. How many more kilograms of apples than oranges does Hannah have? How can you use this estimate to decide if your answer is reasonable? So boys and girls, we're going to start with this blue box on the side because it's going to guide us to make a little bit more informed decision making with our problem solving process. So the first one here, it says, what operation will you use to solve the problem? Well, we know that this whole lesson is focusing on subtracting. So it's going to be subtraction. Also, boys and girls, when you hear the words in the sentence, has about 1 more kilograms of apples than oranges, you know that she's making a comparison. 1 is less, 1 is more, so that should prompt you to think that this is a subtraction problem. So now, next it says, circle Hannah's estimate to check that your answer is reasonable. So we want to go back in the original problem and circle the 1, because that's our estimate. And I'm also going to just write it down here so that I know that I'm aware that she estimated and she got 1, so I can go back and check my actual answer according to estimate. Remember, the estimate's there to help you and assist you. Estimate makes sure that your actual answer is reasonable. So if your actual answer is really far off the estimate, you know that maybe you made some errors in your subtraction. So now we're going to subtract the two numbers, 3 36 minus 2 28. So first, subtract the hundreds first. If there are not enough of hundreds, we're going to have to regroup 1/10 as hundreds. So boys and girls, when we think about it like this, what we're going to say is that we're going to take 1 dime and we're going to have to trade it for 1 penny or 10 pennies. So boys and girls, let's look at the problem that we have here at the bottom. 6 hundredths minus 8 hundredths. We can't do that. There's not enough of hundreds here. So boys and girls, what we're going to do here is we are going to regroup. So because we can't do 6 minus 8 hundredths, we are going to regroup and we're going to take 1/10 and then we're going to write down 16. The reason why we have 16 now is because we took 1/10 from the tenths place, and we can take that, and now we have 1/10, and then we have 6 hundredths. So now, boys and girls, we can do 16 minus 8, which would give us 8 hundredths. So boys and girls, remember, we did 16 hundredths minus 8 hundredths, which give us 8 hundredths. Now we're going to subtract the tenths, and then subtract the ones. We'll regroup where it's necessary. If we look in the next column, the tenths columns, we see that we can do 2 minus 2. So we can take away 2 tenths minus 2 tenths, which would give us 0 tenths. Finally, boys and girls, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be subtracting the ones place. 3 ones minus 2 ones is 1 1. So we recorded our answer in the bottom, and our actual final answer is 1 8 hundredths. Notice the 8 is the last place, and the place value of is hundreds. That's why we say 8 hundredths. Next, boys and girls, it's asking us to draw a quick picture to make sure that we are connecting and understanding our answer. So what we're going to do is our quick picture is always going to start with the first term that we subtract. So this is building again on yesterday's problem. So we have 3 ones 3/10 and 6/100. So boys and girls, we are going to take away from that 2 1s, 2 10s, and 8/100. So let's do that. If we subtract 2 10s, we cross out those 2 10s. Now we have left over 1/10, and we can visually see that, not 1/10, 1 1. So it's 2 1s minus 3 1s is 1 1. Now, boys and girls, we're going to subtract our 10s. Make sure, boys and girls, that you resist the temptation to subtract the 1s first. You really should subtract here instead. So, boys and girls, if you look here, what we have to do is we have to take away 8. We have to take away 8/100 from the 6/100 that we have. So let's cross it off. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Uh-oh, we can't do that, boys and girls. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of those 10s and we're going to trade for 10/100. So now, boys and girls, we had crossed off 6/100. Now we can cross off 7/100, 8/100, 9/100, 10/100. Now, oh, not 10/100. We only needed to do 8. So I'm going to subtract 10, 9. So what we can see is that there are 9 or 8/100 left. And then we can see that there are 2 10s left. If we subtract 2 10s from 2 10s, we have to cross them out. There's no 10s there. So we can see that visually our answer is 1 and 8/100. Notice it's 8/100 because it's 8 circles. So Hannah has 1 and 8/100 more kilograms of apples. So since 1 and 8/100 is close to 1, we know that the answer is reasonable. So at the bottom of the page, boys and girls, here it says, explain how you know when to regroup in a decimal subtraction problem. This is something we talked a little bit about yesterday in an addition problem, but in a subtraction problem, you can say that I know that I need to regroup when I don't have enough hundreds or tenths to subtract from. And notice, boys and girls, that connects back to what we did up here. When we were looking at this problem, we only had 6/100. We needed to take away 8/100 because it wasn't possible. We had to take one of those tenths and take that tenth and trade it for 10/100. Now, boys and girls, we're going to try one more strategy. We're going to use addition to check our problem. And also, boys and girls, if we think about it, addition is the inverse operation of subtraction. So that means that it actually undoes subtraction. And if you wanted to undo an addition problem, you could also check by subtracting. So it says, boys and girls, since subtraction and addition are inverse operations, you can check your subtraction by adding. So step 1, we need to find the difference. Remember, difference is the fancy name for answer and subtraction. So we're going to subtract the hundreds first, and then we're going to subtract the tens, ones, and tens. We're going to regroup as necessary. So boys and girls, notice we use place value in the decimal point to line up our answer so we know it's correct. Also, boys and girls, we're going to notice that we're going to add a 0 in the hundreds place of 14 and 2 tenths because visually our brains need to see that box. It helps us be more successful. So let's do some subtraction. 0 hundredths minus 3 hundredths is impossible. So we're going to need to borrow and regroup. So we're going to take 1/10 away and we're going to add 1/10 and we're going to get 10 right now. So if we do 10 minus 3, we would get 7. So boys and girls, now we're going to move to the tenths place. Can we do 1/10 minus 6/10? No. So we're going to regroup, and we're going to take from the ones place, and then we get 3. So now, boys and girls, now that we have 3 ones, we're going to take one of those ones, and we're going to have 11 to subtract from now. 11 minus 6 is 5. And then, boys and girls, we're going to move to the ones place. 3 ones minus 8 ones is not possible. So what we would have to do is we would have to regroup from the tens place. So now we have 13 minus 8, which we can do, which is 5. And our final answer is 5 and 57/100. Also, boys and girls, in step 2, we're going to check our answer. Remember, we're going to check using inverse operations. The inverse of subtraction is addition. So, boys and girls, notice we're going to take the difference, which is the answer here, and we're going to put it in this box here. So we have 5 and 57/100. Notice I lined it up using place value. So now, boys and girls, the number subtracted is going to be the term here. So the number subtracted from, which should end up to be the 14 and 2/10, should be what we're going to get on the top. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Regroup the 1. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Regroup the 1. 5 plus 8 is 13, plus regroup 1 is 13. So boys and girls, notice the answer here is 13 and 20/100. Is that correct? Let's double check our answer here. 5 plus 8 is 13. But don't forget to add that regroup 1. Our answer here should be 14 and 20/100. So boys and girls, it says, is your answer correct? Can we explain? We can say, yes, we know our answer is correct. Why do we know our answer is correct? That's the most important part. Yes, because the difference added to the number I subtracted from is equal to the number I subtracted from. And you can see my answer is correct. So boys and girls, another strategy to check your subtraction is to use addition, which is its inverse operation.